What's going on, guys? Gaming Dude back once again with some more informative gaming news. But before we begin, y'all know the routine, or at least I hope you do by now. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you smash that like button and drop me a subscribe, because it would just be your good deed of the day. Same applies if you are a returning viewer. So before we get into things, I want to apologise right off the bat for not producing much content lately or live streaming. I have a pinched nerve in my spine and I've been in nothing but constant pain. I've barely been able to sit down, let alone play a game. So I do apologise for not producing. But anyway, jumping right into the video. Well, what can I say, you know? I would like to say it's the end of a golden era, but it's really not, you know, because this game really did fall short. It really did fail. And it is a massive dick move on the developer's part for not actually ending the story with the game's most heavily teased character since it first released, Captain Marvel. Yes, that's right. Crystal Dynamics have confirmed that Marvel's Avengers support will be ending in March with update 2.8, but more on that in a little bit. You know, with this game, it feels like since the beginning they've tickled our balls with Captain Marvel and heavily teased her through the years that she'd be coming due to the ongoing Kree storyline and Miss Marvel fangirling over her. And now it's just like, meh, we give up. I did, however, have a theory that the game would end with patch 3.0, so I wasn't far off with it ending at 2.8. But I figured it would end at like 3.0 or 3.5, just, you know, adding in maybe one or two final characters and fixing a couple of bugs that are still present from day one. But I wanted them to add these characters more just to bring the story to a conclusion and not leave it. Because with Winter Soldier being the final character, they have confirmed there are no more characters coming to the game. Once again, a little bit more on that. The story's incomplete. It's unfinished. There's a lot of gaps in the story. But yeah, like every other live service game, they tickled our balls and then they blue balls us in the final days. So that's it. They're done with it. But yeah, what I wanted to discuss was how they've actually confirmed that they will stop working on Marvel's Avengers. It has been heavily rumoured over the last few months that this year would be the last year for the game, and I've made videos on this myself. But it seems now that the final significant update will be happening on March 31st, before official customer support ends on September the 30th. Now, do bear in mind the game's servers will remain active for a period of time. I'm not sure how long, but they have confirmed that the game's main story and the multiplayer will still be playable. Now, in a blog post on the game's website, Crystal Dynamics says that the decision was made in conjunction with our partners that now was the right time to make this change. I don't think they quite worded that correctly. I think they should have said now was the right time to finish like production or finish development or finish producing. They went on to say that no new stories, features or heroes will be added to the game going forward. Spider-Man will remain a PlayStation exclusive character even after support for the game stops. Thankfully, the post does also confirm, as I mentioned, that both single player and multiplayer will still be available to play in Marvel's Avengers after September 30th. Update 2.8, which releases on March 31st, will disable the purchase of credits and convert remaining credits, so that's the credits that you can buy with real world money, into in-game resources for players alongside some other balance updates. They will, however, not be offering refunds to players that have already spent money on the game. So Fortunately, that doesn't apply to me anyway because I never spent real world money on this game. But they left a list of, with however many credits you've got and however many resources you'll receive when they make that final change. But a lot of players were kind of hoping that, that they would at least finish the game, or I was hoping anyway, that they would at least finish the game with Captain Marvel, or at least add in Doctor Strange, because when the War for Wakanda DLC dropped, it was heavily teased there that Doctor Strange was in this universe. And it was a subtle drop, but it was a drop nonetheless, and it's like, well, why drop that Easter egg if you're not going to use it? It was the same at the one of the substations, the SHIELD substations, the outpost. You went there and you could hear background audio of some of the agents talking about She-Hulk. So that's why people assumed that she was coming as well. But now it seems like all the characters that were seemingly data mined in the early days of the game have now just been cancelled altogether completely. And they're just like, no, we're not doing it anymore. And I mean, I can't really say I blame the devs because the game really did fall short. It wasn't as popular as they'd hoped. It wasn't as successful as they'd hoped. And it really wasn't what they promised. And, when this game first dropped, even I had high expectations for it. I figured, oh yeah, it's not a big open world game, but at least we get to play as our favorite heroes. And the story was short, the end game content was repetitive and boring, and stories have now gone completely unresolved and unfinished. Like Thor's mission chain, for example, it heavily teased Loki was coming, and we never got him. It just went nowhere. But yeah, following on from that, the game was just never able to find its footing, despite its usage of the Avengers IP. It was hyped up as the next great live service game ahead of its release. However, the game was plagued with problems upon its launch in September of 2020, and it still has some of those bugs today. Post-launch support, of course, we know has been slow and riddled with delays. Rumours have suggested that the team working on this game has only gotten smaller and smaller as Crystal Dynamics has moved on to other projects like the new Tomb Raider and their upcoming project Perfect Dark. So the game never really did have a chance to come back from a rocky launch like Destiny or No Man's Sky did. And not to mention, the game's IP was recently sold off to Embracer Group, so it could just be that Embracer Group are like, well, yeah, we bought this to save it from going under, but it's going under, so we're telling you to stop, But I don't know who owns sole creative rights. I don't know if it's Crystal Dynamics or Embracer Group anymore since they bought it from Square Enix. So who knows how that works, but you get where I'm coming from. Ironically, though, even this closure announcement didn't go that smoothly, as the entire website for Marvel's Avengers went down when Crystal Dynamics tweeted a link to the news. A follow-up tweet from the game's account says, high traffic caused the website to go down. So, even the website's riddled with bugs, the game is plagued with bugs, and so is the website. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, they have also confirmed, that everything on the marketplace after March 31st will be free, but they won't be adding anything else to it. So there'll be no more cosmetics, even comic book related. There'll be no more consumables, no more nameplates, no more takedowns. It will all just be placed for free, and they will presumably remove the option to purchase real in-game credits with real money. And I suppose that's a good thing, really, because the cosmetics are probably the most popular part of the game. It's not the game itself, it's the cosmetics, So to have those all completely free, I think it's going to at least bring players back just to get them, but before the game like properly shuts down and there's no way to actually play it anymore, and it just basically becomes a decorative object on your shelf, because that's what it sounds like it's going to be. But yeah, so at least everything in the marketplace will be free, from takedowns, cosmetics, nameplates, anything that was in the marketplace. It is now going to be free. So that's it's nice of them, I suppose. And they mentioned that it was as a thank you to the community. I think a real thank you to the community, it would have been giving the game the send-off it deserved, with one final banger of an update, and then after that update, announcing that it was the end, instead of essentially ending the storyboard content with the Winter Soldier. I mean, really? Winter Soldier? That's how you're going to finish off this game, with the Winter Soldier. It's like, anybody would have been better to finish the game than Winter Soldier. Even if they added She-Hulk and said that was the last one, even she would have been better to finish out the game than Winter Soldier. So it's like I said at the start of the video, it is just a bit of a dick move, really, on their part, not actually finishing the end game content, not actually finishing the end game story with the character that was so heavily teased throughout the entire game, and that we all thought we were getting due to the ongoing Kree storyline, which still isn't finished. Because don't forget, the update with the Winter Soldier finished off the cloning saga, the cloning stuff with Monica and MODOK, but we never got to see that finishing moment with the Kree. Because at the end of the game, at the end of the main story, we saw that Kree sentry shoot that signal into space, basically saying, come to Earth, come and invade. Then we got something in the end game referencing that more was coming, with the Hawkeye stuff. He had his own operation, but it was in the future wastelands with Maestro. And we changed that future, but the Kree were still coming. We still had to stop them in the present. And that is where everybody was hoping Captain Marvel would have come into play. And that is where everybody was hoping that she would have been the final character to end it all. But sadly, that's it. It's done. It's finished. And I'm not surprised, if I'm being honest. That admittedly, when I first got this game, it was the only thing I played. I played it every single day just to get the characters up to the full level. I kept replaying the story. I kept replaying the online missions. And then after a while, it was just like, this is really boring now. Because I was waiting so long for new content. I'd done everything like a million times over. I'd found all the secrets in the levels. And it was just really boring. That there was nothing new for me to do. And I don't like that in a game. I like a game that has replay value, and even though Avengers has all these unique missions, it has no replay value, because there's nothing to collect, there's nothing to do in those missions. They stopped adding all the codex files with new characters, so there was nothing to collect. There was nothing new for me to do in these missions, so it was a bad case of doing it and then never touching it again, just leaving it. And it is a real shame, because the game had a lot of potential, and the potential was unfortunately wasted. What could have been a great AAA title with a great name, with a great IP, sadly failed. And because of its failure, I'm not too sure if we'll actually see another Avengers game. Of course, EA Games are working on their own Marvel games, and we have that Captain America game coming from another studio as well. But I think that's what developers are going to focus on now, just like the single player story games for superhero games, because after Insomniac Spider-Man, I think devs have realized that is what people actually want now. Just single player, story based superhero games. None of this live service crap, no microtransactions, no online connectivity, no forcing you to play a mission because you need another player to do it. So I think that's another reason why they've decided now to end the game so abruptly, just because of all these new projects that are incoming. I mean, who knows? In a few years' time, someone else may pick up another project. EA Games might even make one because they've got three Marvel projects in the works. We know the first one is Iron Man. The second one is rumored but not confirmed to be a Deadpool game, and nobody knows what the third one is. So, depending on what they do, they could make their own Avengers game. So we'll just have to see what happens there and where that goes forward in the future. But until then, we've got plenty of other superhero games out there, plenty of other superhero games coming as well. We've still got Gotham Knights, that's still fresh on our minds. Even though it's got a dwindling player base and it's not doing very well, it's still there. They haven't said they're finishing that up yet, so that's still going. We've got Suicide Squad coming out this year. Unfortunately, that does seem like that's going to be live service as well, but let's hope to do a better job than the Avengers. So yeah, that's it for this video then. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Do you think now is the right time to end Avengers? Do you think it should have ended like last year or the year before, or pretty much right after it came out? Do you think it's gone unresolved, unfinished, or are you happy with the content that they have produced in the game? So yeah, once again, you all know the routine. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you smash that like button and drop me a subscribe, because it would just be your good deed of the day. Same applies if you are a returning viewer. Stay tuned as well, because now I'm starting to feel better and I'm actually able to sit down and play a game. There's a lot of content coming from me, a few little informational tidbits here and there. I'll bring you some more informative gaming news whenever I can. A couple of live streams coming as well, and we are only 20 days away from the release of Hogwarts Legacy. So that's going to be a big thing on this channel. We're going to be covering that a lot. There's going to be a lot of videos for Hogwarts Legacy. So I hope you're a Harry Potter fan, because there's going to be a lot of it. So yeah, that's it for the video then. Thanks once again for stopping in. I really do appreciate it. This has been Gamer Dude. Happy gaming, and I will catch you all in the next one, guys.